How's it going, everyone? So today for this video, I'm going to be going over my computer science degree, which is something I've never talked about on this channel. So I have my transcript here, and I'm going to go through all of the computer science courses I took, what they were about, what I had to do, and what grade I got. Before we get started, I wanted to tell you about my technical interview prep platform, AlgosWithMichael. So if you're preparing for coding interviews, I really recommend you checking it out. It's different from other coding prep websites because I actually teach you the patterns to solve a bunch of different categories of interview problems, such as sliding window, top K element, and binary search. Taking a pattern-focused study approach is so much better than studying a bunch of random problems or even just studying problems by specific companies. Learning the patterns is what's going to allow you to feel confident in a wide breadth of different topics. Specifically for my YouTube audience, you guys get a discount using the code ALGOHELP. And now on to the video. I got my Bachelor's of Science in Computer Science from Cal Poly Pomona in Southern California. So there's actually multiple Cal Polys. There's a Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and then there's Cal Poly Pomona. I'm sure there are differences between the schools, but I'm not exactly sure what they are. Cal Poly's motto is learn by doing. So you'll notice as I go through many of the CS courses that it involves a lot of projects. Keep in mind that several quarters did include math, physics, and general education courses that were required, but I'm only going to be going over the computer science specific courses. So the first computer science course I ever took was CS 140, which is Intro to Computer Science. And exactly how it sounds, this class is teaching the absolute basics of programming in the language Java. Java is the core language used in most of the CS courses at Cal Poly. So we went over Java fundamentals, loops, conditionals, file input output, functions, arrays, and array lists. There were a couple different projects as well. One was writing a program to convert time to hours, minutes, seconds, and perform the reverse. Another was implementing different functions to perform computations on an input array. I ended up with a B+ in this class. The next class I took was CS 130, which is Discrete Structures. So this class went over formal logic, proofs and recursion, sets, combinatorics, relations and functions, and graphs and trees. This class was super heavy on the proofs, and I actually struggled with this class. I ended up getting the lowest grade I've ever gotten in all of college in this class, with a C. I had heard prior to taking this class that it was really difficult and that the professor didn't really go easy, so I was happy to pass and just move on. The next class I took was CS 141, Intro to Programming and Problem Solving. So this was a follow-up to the Intro to Computer Science course. Using the Java programming language, the class went over creating command line interfaces, types, recursion, exceptions, arrays, sorting and searching, packages, classes, interfaces, IO classes, and collection classes. It was pretty much just a more advanced Java class, and I ended up getting a C in this class, which I feel like I definitely could have done better. I was playing, way too much CSGO at the time. But after this class, it was summer break, and I really started to take an interest in programming, specifically making Android applications. But it's not how you start that is important, it's how you finish. So when I came back to school for the next quarter, I was really motivated to ace my CS courses. The next class I took was CS 240, which is Data Structures and Algorithms 1. So this class went over popular data structures and algorithms, including arrays, linked lists, stacks, queues, binary trees, hashing, recursion, and binary search. The projects and assignments were pretty much just to do custom implementations of all these data structures and algorithms. And as you can probably imagine, it was a great class that would pave the way to start solving LeetCode questions. I ended up getting an A in this class, and I really took an interest in learning these fundamentals, and that's probably a good reason as to why I started this channel. About a year after completing this course, I ended up being a teacher's assistant for this class, and I would grade student projects, tests, and quizzes. The next class I took was CS 241, Data Structures, and Algorithms 2. I had the same teacher as the predecessor to this class, so the course had a really similar structure. It was just going over more difficult algorithms and data structures. So we went over general trees, binary search trees, red-black trees, priority queues, graphs, heaps, sets, maps. I think we also went over Dijkstra's algorithm as well as all of the well-known sorting algorithms. So, quick sort, merge sort, bubble sort, insertion sort, heap sort, radix sort, counting sort. I'm sure there's more, but we went over all of them in this class. Similar to CS 240, the assignments and projects were pretty much just implementing these data structures and algorithms. The first assignment was implementing the map and set data structures. The second assignment was creating a restaurant that takes customers based on priority. And exactly how it sounds, this involves the use of priority queues. The third assignment was to mimic an animal hospital where people could create an appointment for their pet, search for past medical records, and list out all appointments. This assignment relied on the knowledge of red-black trees, which is a pretty complicated data structure. And finally, the fourth assignment was implementing a graph data structure from scratch. There was a big project at the end where we had to implement various sorting algorithms and do a write-up on each, explaining the best, worst, and average time complexities for each. Overall, it was a really useful class, definitely learned a lot, and I ended up with an A in this class as well. The next class was CS 210, Computer Logic, and we covered Boolean algebra with applications to computers and logic design, ALU, flip-flops, and sequential machines. And to be honest, most of the things I learned in this class, I've completely forgotten at this point. I do remember writing out those flip-flop circuits and truth tables, but that's about it. I ended up with a B+ in this class, so not too bad. The next class was CS 256, C++ programming. This class was awesome because I had always wanted to learn a lower level language. So we covered class encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism, exception handling, template classes, and OOP design, all in C++. Coming from Java, it actually wasn't too hard to grasp the concepts. There were a couple projects for this class. The first project was to create our own crazy language. The concept was that we would have a couple different characters that would be valid in our programming language. So there was a plus, minus, open bracket, closing bracket, and a couple other characters, and each character would correspond to some specific C++ code. It was an interesting project, definitely a good intro assignment to learn C++. The final project we had was a good amount of work. This project we actually did with a partner. So we had to make a physics simulation where a bunch of balls are bouncing around in a window. And what made this project difficult is that when the balls collide with each other or the walls, they would bounce off of each other exactly how you would expect. To develop this simulation, it was required to use the SDL library, which is a cross-platform development library designed to provide low-level access to audio, keyboard, mouse, joystick, and graphics hardware via OpenGL and Direct3D. It was a very cool project, but it was difficult to build because not only did we have to learn the SDL library, but also working with physics formulas can be really challenging. I ended the class with an A. The projects made up for most of your grade for this one, and I put a lot of effort into the project, so that's why I think I got this grade. The next class was CS 375, Computers and Society. So this class was definitely different. It went over the impact of computers on individuals and on society. So we went over the benefits and dangers of advances in computer technology. I felt like this class was all over the place. The professor had us doing what it seemed like random exercises each week. One week we would literally be watching a movie relating to privacy, And then another week, we had to write a calculator in Python. I ended up using tkinter to make the calculator. I don't have the code available to show for this one, but you get the idea. It's a calculator, it's not too exciting. I ended the class with an A. It was definitely one of the easiest CS classes in the curriculum. The next class was CS 264, Computer Organization and Assembly Programming. This class was really interesting because it was the first time I had ever done assembly programming. A large portion of the class revolved around learning the MIPS architecture. Towards the end of the course, we did touch on ARM, and we also discussed input-output, interrupts, and addressing modes. And if you asked me to recall any of this information, I 100% would not be able to. I didn't save any of my assignments or projects for this class, unfortunately, but just to give you more detail, here is an instruction list of the MIPS assembly language. We were tasked with using these instructions in the example column to create basic programs. And as you can see in the instruction column, it is describing what the syntax is actually doing. I ended up with an A- in this class, so can't complain with that because the class was pretty difficult. The next class was CS 301, Numerical Methods. We were required for this class to code a spread of mathematical programs, some more fun than others. So we had to do error analysis, zeros of a function, systems of linear equations, interpolation, Chebyshev approximation, least squares approximation, numerical integration and differentiation, and random processes. I actually found one of the assignments in my GitHub which calculates Chebyshev polynomials using dynamic programming. As you probably noticed, this class was math heavy, so there were a couple math class prerequisites to even take this course. I ended up getting a B+ in this class, which I was pretty happy with because I felt like it was a hard class. The next class was CS 331, Design and Analysis of Algorithms. I ended up with an A in this class, and it was pretty much just a more advanced data structures and algorithms course. The first project for this course was to implement different sorting algorithms, quick sort, merge sort, insertion sort, bubble sort, all of the sorts. And then we had to run tests on various input array sizes and plot the results. Based on the results we found, we then had to write a 10-page paper talking about what each sorting algorithm's best, worst, and average complexities are, as well as when to use a specific sorting algorithm over another. Once I finished this course, I actually ended up being a teacher's assistant for this class as well. I would run the students' code and verify it passes the various automated unit tests and grade the tests and quizzes. The next class was CS 245, Programming Graphical User Interfaces, and I ended up getting an A in this class. So we had to create a variety of games using Swing in Java with the NetBeans IDE. Swing is a pretty old GUI widget toolkit for developing window-based applications in Java. You can see that the UI components, they look really outdated. The final project was to create a hangman game with a GUI in groups of 2. Overall, this class was really boring in my opinion because we were using a very old tech stack. The next class was CS 311, Formal Languages and Automata. I ended up getting a B+ in this class, and to be honest, I don't remember much about this class. I didn't save any of the homework or projects, but I ended up with a B+. The next class was CS 299, Special Topics for Lower Division Students, and this specific class was on Python programming. I ended up getting an A in this class. This class in the curriculum essentially changes from quarter to quarter, so the topic is different each time. So for me, the topic ended up being about Python programming, which was pretty cool because I was already pretty familiar with the language when I took this class. The final project in this class was worth a very big percentage of our grade, and we had to create a project, anything we wanted in Python. And what was cool is I had already created a moderately large Python project before this class, which was a mixtape maker. So I ended up just using that as my final project. The only thing I had to do was create a presentation and do a live demo to the class, but overall a pretty low investment of time for a final. I ended up getting an A in this class, and a big reason was because I already had this final project finished. The next class was CS 365 Computer Architecture. I ended up getting an A in this class as well, and it taught various concepts such as pipelining, branch prediction, hyperthreading technology, cache design, and out-of-order execution. A large majority of our grade was based around writing a paper on a specific instruction set architecture. I ended up doing mine on the alpha architecture. There were a bunch of parts to this paper: architecture overview, detailed processing unit structure, feature discussion, I/O overview, memory structures, alpha instruction set, comparisons to other instruction sets, and then a conclusion. Overall, I really didn't like this class at all because a large majority of it was just writing a paper, and honestly, I'd rather do some coding. The next class was CS 408, Programming Languages. I ended up getting an A in this class, and I learned about the intricacies of modern programming languages, and we were exposed to other types of programming paradigms such as logic, functional, and imperative languages. I remember a big part of this class was going over passing by reference, value, and pointer. And then for the final project, we had to choose a relatively popular programming language and create a project with it. The project could be really whatever we wanted, and I ended up choosing Swift, so I made an iOS drawing app. The next class was CS 463 Undergraduate Seminar. I got an A in this class as well, and we had to give a single 15-minute presentation by ourselves about any computer science related topic that we wanted. The interesting part about this class is that our grade was dependent on how the class graded our presentation. So we were judged on the accuracy of the information, clarity, and length of the presentation. I did my presentation on Android development, specifically going over various Android development basics that are useful to know if you wanted to start making Android apps. So I had to make this, whole slide deck going over different Android examples and just explaining some of the basics to everyone in the class. The next class was CS 431 Operating Systems. I ended up getting a B in this class, and we covered a variety of topics including process management, concurrency and synchronization, deadlock, processor management, scheduling and dispatch, memory management, virtual memory, and file systems. We had several projects in this class. The first one was to mimic a process table and process control block. So we had to implement a bunch of different commands like fork, block, yield, exit, print, kill, unblock, and exec. The next project was to implement different scheduling algorithms. So these scheduling algorithms are used to determine which process on your computer gets ran depending on the allocated resources. So we had to implement first come, first serve, random, round robin, and shortest first scheduling algorithms. The next project was to implement different algorithms for memory management. So for this project, we had to implement a segment linked list, and we had to essentially implement these different types of functions for a segment linked list, like next fit, first fit, and best fit. And then the final project was to implement the inode data structure to mimic a Unix file system. The next class was CS 435 Database Systems, and I ended up getting an A in this class. For this class, we covered data models such as entity relationship, relational and object-oriented models, theory of database design, and data manipulation processes using relational algebra and calculus. And then finally, we learned about SQL in programming language environments. So here are some pictures of the ER diagrams I had to create for the course. Finally, there was extra credit that I did, which involved creating a command line program to search, insert, and delete art in an art museum. For this extra credit, I ended up using SQL Alchemy, which is an ORM written in Python. And this library allows you to not have to write SQL, but rather work with Python objects to perform operations on your models. The next class was CS 480 Software Engineering, and I got an A in this class as well, which revolved around software requirements and specifications, methodologies, tools, project management, cost estimation, and testing. We discussed the agile and waterfall methodologies, and we had to create a project with several other team members. The interesting thing about this project, however, was that we actually had to do estimations on all of the tasks to finish the project. So there were different roles on the team. So we had developers, a project manager, and I believe a scrum master as well. Overall, not the most fun class, but I definitely did learn a lot. The next class was CS 420 Artificial Intelligence, which I ended up getting a B in this class. And we learned about different traversal and search algorithms such as A-star, hill climbing, and genetic. So here's some of the code for the projects that I had to do in this class, just implementing these algorithms. It was pretty difficult, actually, a difficult class, but definitely learned a lot. And yeah, the hardest part was really just the finals. The final was pretty much the reason why I got a B. I did really well in the projects, but the final I didn't do amazing at. I think I got like a C or a B minus. I don't remember, but that was the reason why I got a B and not an A. The next class was CS 499 Special Topics for Upper Division Students. I got an A in this class. I had to do a presentation along with several other people about mobile privacy. So we had to talk about like different Facebook leaks. What are the countermeasures that they use to prevent these leaks? And yeah, this was my last class in college, and it ended up being pretty easy. By the end of taking all of my college classes, I ended up with a 3.52 GPA, and definitely can say I learned a lot in the process. So if you like this breakdown of my CS degree, drop a like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments if there are any topics you'd be interested in me going over. Don't forget to check out my algorithm prep website, AlgosWithMichael. I would love to teach you all of the different patterns for solving these categories of interview problems. And with that, I'll catch you guys next time.